Hi, I'm Zaakirah, and I am the host of the See Life Different podcast. This podcast is perfect for you if you are a Black, Indigenous, woman of color, ready to step outside of your comfort zone. This podcast will inspire you, empower you, and educate you on how to see life differently, whether it's in your business or in your personal life. I am a cancer survivor, brand cultivating strategist, author, and world traveler. Let's get into it. I spoke on 3 places at Essence Fest 2026. In this podcast, I'm going to tell you how I got the opportunity, how you can get the opportunity as well, and what my experience was like. I am Zaakirah. I am blind in my right eye, and I have a hearing loss as a result of a childhood eye cancer. I just got off from my 3rd Essence Fest. My first one was actually in 2016. Essence Festival went to South Africa, and that was my first time experiencing the culture over there. My second time at Essence Fest was in 2024 for the 30th anniversary of Essence Fest. Essence Festival was created in 1995 to celebrate 25 years of the Essence magazine, the magazine that commemorates, supports, and showcases Black and African diasporan women. It's been a cultural staple in New Orleans ever since. And 24 was my first time attending. I got to really see the lay of the land. I did a recap video on that, and I can also make sure you have the link to that to compare the experiences as an attendee versus this time with me speaking. How did I get the opportunity to speak? First, I want to say a huge thank you to New Voices family. New Voices family, New Voices Fund, New Voices Foundation is part of the reason why I was able to speak on not one, not two, but 3 places. New Voices is an entrepreneur program. It's a foundation, and they have their motto where they call it PACE, Purpose, Access, Capital, and Expertise. So you participate in a virtual 3-month program to continue to build your business, whether you are building, you're growing, or you're scaling. As long as you have a business idea that is scalable, and as long as you follow the social media channel to look out for the application when it opens, make sure that you apply for that. And it's a wonderful program with a very supportive community. And I enjoyed the opportunity to be in the program. And I remembered that when I finished the program, I got awarded the Excellence Award for the leadership, for being supportive, for being engaging. Make sure you follow New Voices Family to learn more about how you too can be at Essence Fest. And I have also set my intention. That is something I've always wanted to do. I didn't even realize it until most recently that not only have I absolutely loved the magazine growing up, I also really set the intention to be in the space of Essence Fest. You have to really set the intentions of if that's something you really want to do, not just for fun, but if that's something you want to do to get more visibility for your business, set those intentions. My opportunity came in 3 ways. The brand that I am building and have also been building and pivoting pretty much for the last 10 years is to see life differently. I see life differently. I see you in one eye. My right eye is a prosthetic eye as a result of a childhood eye cancer. But also, I have the gift of intuition and seeing things differently. Creating that brand also allowed me the opportunity to create a panel. I moderated a panel, but I also got to pitch the panel and pretty much choose the panelists and even continue to choose the panelists when there were changes in panelists. It was really amazing to have the opportunity to have a 20-minute panel on reimagining inclusion. There was a panelist who has a foundation on epilepsy. She has epilepsy. There was a panelist that is a Black audiologist and has a hearing loss. And then there was a panelist that was a former WNBA player and a gold Olympian who also is prioritizing mental health and invisible disabilities. That full video is also on my YouTube if you want to watch that. The second opportunity I got to do was the wellness section of the festival. Refinery 29 is now a part of Essence, and they had a session called Unbothered and Well. They had talking circles where people who have experience just talking about mental health and wellness got to basically have 20 to 30-minute talking circles to facilitate conversation, to let people reflect. I was able to empower people to bring joy back to their inner child and calm down a little bit, because the beautiful thing about SFS is there's much music. But for those with hearing loss like myself, for those who are neurodivergent, sometimes it can be a lot. So it was one of the few places outside of maybe the film festival sections where you could just sit down and just enjoy the peace and quiet, but also reflecting and having some reflective conversation. That full audio will be on my See Life Different podcast for you to listen. Last but not least, I had the opportunity to be in New Voices. I feel like it was revamped and a lot bigger than when I was last there in 2024. But they had opportunity for not just the ones who just completed the 2025 program, but if you have ever been a part of New Voices family, or you are a part of the inner network of the New Voices family, you got to not only speak, have workshops, show off your product, pitch to win money, have office hours for mentorships. You also got to meet up with other people who were in the same program, no matter which year it was. It was amazing to meet the people in person that I had been seeing online on Zoom every single week for 3 months, and also reconnecting with people who I knew from other entrepreneurship programs. I've been in several entrepreneurship programs, mainly for the camaraderie in the community. It was really nice to see those people in person either again or for the first time. And I also enjoyed being able to be gifted some products from my fellow entrepreneurs. I have some lip gloss. My lip gloss is popping in the video version of this conversation, and I'm actually wearing one of the entrepreneurs that was in the same program that I was in. Her lip gloss name is Omani, and it's vegan, cruelty free, holistic. I'm not a beauty person, but I make sure that I try to eat healthy and use healthy beauty material as well. I was able to get a handful. I wasn't one of those that, if you saw it on social media, people love to go to the beauty con or beauty conference part of Essence Fest to pick up the free sample. That's usually the only time that most businesses either heavily discount their product or get free samples. Most people really love the beauty con aspect of it. Those lines were really long. I guess the unfortunate side is that they were trying to switch up other things that the lines were really, really long. I didn't even bother. The only time I got to go was I had a wristband from my fellow entrepreneur to get in and bypass the lines. And the same way for making sure that I got in on time to speak, because my session was the first session in the morning. I had to have a specific wristband to get in and bypass the line. It's a little chaotic, but that's the beauty of festivals. You're gonna have a little bit of chaos, you're gonna have a little bit of fun, you're gonna have a little bit of memories, and I had all of the above. Then we were also thankfully, gratefully gifted floor seat tickets to enjoy the concerts. I only went to the Saturday and Sunday night concert. I am a huge fan of Brandy and Monica. They are the soundtrack to my life. And I also got to see T.I. I have family roots from Atlanta, Georgia. So I got to witness a hip hop trap music orchestra. That was a brilliant idea. If you are a concert music lover, you can't fully enjoy a music experience without crying at least once. I did cry at least once during the songs. There's one song by Monica called For You, I Will. I've loved that song since I was a child. I love this best basketball, and I love the Space Jam movie soundtrack. Not knowing that also was a song that is now close to Monica's heart. She also recently lost her father. I lost my father in April 2024. I did not know that I was going to start bawling, but sometimes you need a good cry. And the same thing for T.I. He performed a song that was not a single, but was on one of his best albums called Live in the Sky, and it featured Jamie Foxx and a few other people that have passed away recently in my life. And again, I was crying. But that's a part of the experience. You laugh, you cry, you learn. That's all of the emotions. If you have never experienced Essence Fest, definitely do. It's entering a new era for sure. Anna Taylor was one of the music curators. There was something called a super lounge, which is like a very intimate concert. And I feel like it's a campaign for other artists to become on the main stage. That's the way that I see it. But it was also nice to really just be amongst neo soul style R&B. Tiana Taylor was the curator to bring that specific type of lounge back. And it was really nice to be able to go there. Tiana Taylor's company name was The Aunties. And at this point, it's my generation now. I am the auntie. If you've never been to Essence Fest, it's definitely a vibe. And I think what makes it different is the convention center is completely free. Most of the off-site events that the creators are having are completely free. So you literally have to just plan ahead, plan your own finances, and be grateful. Everything is free. It's also the easiest place to build your content. Build content if you want to be a content creator. And it's also the easiest place to learn more about other businesses and meet new people as well. Speaking of building content, one of the things that I have been pivoting into is to become more of a brand strategist for accessible content. Over the last 10 years, I've been helping tons of entrepreneurs, nonprofits, small businesses, startups to build their digital presence and use social media. But what's still missing is knowing to use captions on social media for those who not only are not in an environment where they can actually listen to the video, but also people like me who are hard of hearing and may not fully understand what's being said. I have to put some headphones in, or some people have Bluetooth now in their hearing aids to be able to actually hear the video of what people are saying. A lot of businesses are losing out on clientele. They're not having captions on their video at the bare minimum. The good thing also, accessibility wise, they have improved since 2024 to have a lot more sign language interpreters. You may have seen it on the social media feed that there's actually theatrical storytelling with the sign language when it comes to the music portion. But there were a few sessions that I sat in when I was not speaking and I wanted to go support and learn from others that actually had sign language interpreters. Now, I do wish that I knew ahead of time either that they were live streaming part of the festival so that it could actually have captions and I could know where to go to see the captions. Otherwise, I was using my phone, my Samsung phone that had captions involved. The same thing for physical disabilities. I saw a lot of elders who had the motorized wheelchairs, or you had a wheelchair that needed to be pushed, but they did not either know where to go very clearly, or they had to push through other people, and there was still not a separate entrance for them. They are very important people too, just like all the many talent and celebrities that come through. I know there could be lots more improvement for accessibility, but we all learn. We all learn every single time. Okay, I'm also a travel advisor part-time as well, just getting back started to doing that. I'm also now going to tell you the itinerary side of things, how my experience went. But before I do that, if you want to either build your brand confidently to speak on stages, or you want to make sure your content is more accessible, make sure that you connect with me by going to my website, which is my first name and my middle name.com, Zaakirah.com. And I have my own little link tree or link in bio where you can choose your pathway. Choose to book a mentorship call with me where you can actually talk to me one on one about what it is you're actually trying to build, that it can be clarified and that you can actually take action for it. Or if you want to also go straight to the link to watch the full panel, if you want to also go straight to the link to listen to the podcast episode that is about the soft storage reset, how to reset. It's a 30-minute conversation. It's probably going to be less than that, but no more than 30 minutes to just reset. And also, if you want to include me as the one to make sure that your events and your workspaces are also accessible for those with disabilities. Be sure to connect with me at my website, zaakirah.com/social to find all of the places. Okay, now from the itinerary side, if you're trying to figure out how to make this New Orleans trip happen, either during Essence Fest weekend or not, here's what I did. Now, keep in mind, because this was not a paid speaking opportunity, I had to budget. And I've been traveling a lot. I had to really be on a tight budget. This is what I ended up doing. All right, I ended up spending a whole week. What happens is the conference is always on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the 4th of July weekend. That Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is always booked up. Those hotel prices are going to be extremely high. Either book it very early. If you have points you've been acquiring or you want to buy your points, do that. Make sure that you secure if it's going to be a hotel, if it's going to be a Airbnb, or if it's going to be a hostel. I decided to do a hostel. Now, hostels have had bad rep. They're normally for it's college dorm life, right? But it's There are a few hostels that are actually really accommodating for all ages as well. I ended up choosing a hostel. It was actually not really bad. I paid for my bed. Basically, I paid for my bed. I paid to shower. I'm never gonna be there anyways, right? I don't want to pay for a place where I'm never gonna be. Keep that in mind when it comes to the hotels. There's plenty of them in walking distance, especially if you bring a fan, have an umbrella, have your raincoat, have your poncho. Most of everything is walking distance from the two places where they normally have most of the events, the convention center and the Superdome. What I did though, when I flew into the New Orleans airport, I think it was new. I don't remember seeing it or hearing about it or anything from the last time I was there. But there is now an express bus that can take you from the airport to downtown New Orleans. Bus 202, I was able to bring my luggage. I actually intentionally brought a carry-on only luggage because I'm like, I'm not trying to carry all the things, but some people do that. They literally bring extra luggage. They know that this is one of the only times that they'll see a certain entrepreneur in person. They bring extra luggage to go shopping, like it's a flea market. But I was like, let me not do all that. Let me just bring my carry on. I actually took an express bus from the airport to downtown New Orleans. And so I originally got a hotel just for me to decompress. I knew I was speaking on Saturday. Let me make sure that I have a hotel just for me. Let me decompress, comfort a bed, or close to other places where I can Uber food delivery and do that. Most places are walking distance, but when you do Uber and Lyft, I think it's just helpful to maybe eventually study a map or pay attention to social media to know when it's close by. Don't map it to the actual venue. Everybody's going to be going to the venue. There's going to be a lot of traffic. Of course, avoid traffic, avoid high fees by making sure that your Uber or Lyft goes to a nearby destination, not the actual destination you're going to. And I keep saying long lines and a lot of traffic. You definitely got to factor that in. If you are not a fitness person, make sure you are getting some exercise and eating healthy before you get to Essence Fest. It will wear you out. You'll get the most steps you've ever gotten. And then they thankfully had an app this time around. They always have an app, but they're improving their app regularly. Essence Festival now has an app. It served one as your entryway to get into the convention center, which again is free, but also it served as a partial guide and a map to know where the sessions are. Now, I will admit, I believe it needed to have some improvement. Even I was a bit confused. I had to make sure that I got in early. I can just know where everything is, look at the app, and then look up and see, okay, now I see where I am. But I do feel like we all could have done more content-wise to make sure that we know where to find people's booths. That kind of affect entrepreneurs a little bit. There's some people that wanted to see me and they missed it. Either there's a long line or they couldn't find where it was. But when you have the app, it'll tell you all of the things if that's happening. That was how I was able to plan my itinerary. I made my own notes of what I wanted, the intentions I set, and what I wanted to get out of attending these events. I ended up attending a Thursday event that was offsite. It was basically usually the first day of Essence Fest. The first ever event I attended was by Sprout Social. Sprout Social is building a network for those who want to create content and get paid for it. They had a intimate content creators meetup to talk about the product, but also answer all the frequently asked questions about how do I even break into this industry or how do I pivot? How do I get money? How do I do this? That event really set the tone. A lot of these offsite events did not have enough food. They had a catering company that had delicious southern food. It was a nice villa style content creator house that had plenty of space if I needed some peace and quiet. There was music going, but anytime I hear a song by Usher, I'm gonna take a moment to enjoy and sing along because Usher is one of my favorite male R&B artists. That really set the bar. They actually had full meals that I could actually enjoy. And I actually had a minute also to be able to sit down, plenty of places to sit down and just either relax or network or people watch. Or actually, I had a minute where I needed to respond to messages and emails, either relating to freelance social media clients that I have or my speaking engagements that are coming up. Being a moderator for my panel, make sure that everyone's set. That really set the tone, but that all offset off-site experiences are like that. Be prepared ahead of time. And then second thing was attending another off-site concert by Sister Song. It was at the Joy Theater, and Carrie Hilson was performing. The theme this year was to really trust Black women. And Sister Song is part music, part public health, part political empowerment and education. It was really nice to really see the concert before going inside the activation once I got to the convention center the next day inside of the Global Black Economic Forum activation of the convention center. By Friday, the first official day, and I knew I wanted to meet one person who I could interview. I haven't had guests on my podcast in a while, but that's going to change very soon. But one of the things I have been working on is building a documentary. I have been working on a documentary really since my book came out. My mom and I wrote a book in 2019 about what it was like to survive cancer, often being the only Black woman, Muslim woman, disabled woman in these spaces. And that was really the start of all of these things. This book technically was 18 years in the making. There was journal entries from my mother and then my perspective, mother and daughter perspective on that book. The book is available on Amazon, and you can get it as an ebook or audiobook to really learn really the full backstory of all of it. How did the sea life different ecosystem come about? The book came first, then the podcast, and then virtual summits, and then panels and speaking opportunities and TEDx talks. Now what's happening next is going to be a documentary about those who also have eye conditions. Every place that I've gone, I've realized that there's not enough documentary series about those with eye conditions. And my background was in photography first, and then it went into videography and then social media marketing. I've now at this point have been acquiring all of the skills to make my own documentaries. I say all that to say that I was very excited to be able to interview someone who was also speaking. She released a book this year. I got to just get some of my own content of her speaking at the book festival side of the Essence Festival. And I look forward to including her interview in the documentary that is still in the works, still raising money for that. And you can also learn more about that by visiting my website, Zaakirah@nayar.com, if that's something you want to support or just simply learn more about. And then I wanted to make sure that I support one of my other entrepreneurs that was in the same program as me, who is in the music industry, and she's building basically a music licensing company. And support and record content for her speaking engagement as well. And then I was really excited to catch a live podcast taping. One thing that Essence Festival added this year is more podcasters and more content creators. They understand that's the future. Everybody's building their own platform nowadays. They gave the platform for people to record conversations live. You may have seen on social media about Kiki Palmer and Michelle Obama doing that, but there are actually smaller podcasts that I actually follow, such as Because We Feud. I think I just found out about them last year. They started posting their videos on YouTube. It sounds just like Family Feud, and it is Family Feud, but it's for Black culture. And the founder, he calls himself Damon Harvey. He has this adhesive mustache to make him look like Steve Harvey. He has a bald head like Steve Harvey's. It's a whole tribe. Hod and Trell and Damon of Because We Feud had a live taping of their podcast, but more like a game show edition of their podcast, to also be inside of the Black Votes Matters booth in the Global Black Economic Forum of the Convention Center. And it was much fun to see a podcast in person. That was fun. And then I was able to go upstairs to witness another panel about creator and content creation, management. And since I am building, I want to expand my media company, not just to include the fact that I've published a book, I've had TEDx talks, I've had podcasts, I've had virtual summits, but now how to help others, especially if you're Black, Muslim, and disabled, to be able to do the same thing. It's wonderful to be able to learn and get clarification, reiteration that I am doing the right thing. And then the speakers, anyone who was ever a part of New Voices, got to also have full meals. There was a dinner, a networking dinner Friday night, where we actually got to eat full meals and got to meet up with each other, network. And I did not go to the concert on Friday night. Again, I was speaking. However, I did make sure that I went to the FedEx Kinko's before they closed for the holidays. I can get some postcards for people to continue to connect with me. And yeah, then I just went back home to get ready. I made sure before my speaking engagement to eat healthy. Now, I did not eat too much, again, being on a budget, but I did make sure to eat healthy. I remember eating at one of the places called Daily Beets, which had a very filling rice bowl. I had avocado and beets and carrots, vegetables, rice, quinoa actually, and smoothies. I love smoothies. I was grateful to have a very full meal from Daily Beets in New Orleans. And then I also ate at a franchise called True Home Kitchen. And then I also had the opportunity to eat at Addis Ethiopian food at Addis Nola. But that was not until after Essence Festival. But as far as if you're curious, what did I eat? What type of food is there to eat? Of course, make sure you go to Have a Benet and Cafe au Lait. Make sure you do that. I've been to New Orleans 3 times at this point. I've had it already, but make sure you do that if it's your first time coming to New Orleans. And make sure you also have a po' boy, and make sure that you also have any one of the seafood dishes as well. Once I was in the convention center, they had maybe like if you've been to amusement parks or outdoor fairs, they've had those little bowls of food. They had Jamaican food. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but also I have Caribbean roots. It was exciting to have just a slight taste of home. I had the greens and rice and peas and plantain at the food festival portion of Essence Festival. Okay, moving on to Sunday. Sunday was a very slow day, and luckily we didn't have any trouble with lines because not as many people were there on Sunday. But that was my time where I could really wander around a bit and witness a couple of other speaking opportunities. One thing that I did notice is that people from the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area were heavily in attendance. So that there may have been conversation on social media about if Essence was ever to leave, where should they go? I would rally for them coming to Maryland or the DC area. A lot of people who came, there were a lot of stands about historically black colleges, a lot of vendors from historically black colleges there, a lot of alumni from historically black colleges from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area in attendance. And even the Baltimore mayor, one of the youngest mayors who has really transformed Baltimore from the stereotype that you know of it to actually being a place where people can thrive. The Baltimore mayor was there, and then I went to see that session. It was a really interesting Sunday of back-to-back Baltimore. One more other fun fact about me is I'm a descendant of Frederick Douglass, but on the Stephen Bailey side of the family. And it was a complete honor to be having all my speaking engagements on the American Independence Day. I spent Sunday having back-to-back Baltimore. If you know the history of Frederick Douglass settled in Maryland. What did I do first? I supported one of my fellow entrepreneurs, the one who had the lip gloss. She's also a doctor, an actual physician. She had a talking circle in the Unbothered and World Activation. I sat in on her session and then saw her booth. And then on my way to interacting with her, I ran into a Baltimore native who's the founder of Black Women Marketers. And the only thing I got to do between that was then go to see the mayor of Baltimore speak. And then as soon as I left that session, Mario, the R&B singer from You Should Let Me Love You song, was performing at the Coca-Cola stage. Baltimore was back to back. And that was the other thing too. There are performances inside the convention center too that are completely free. Definitely check out the Coca-Cola stage because they always have the upcoming, or maybe they're the OG R&B singer, but they've been not getting as much visibility in a while. They also get to perform. That was wonderful to see as well. And then Monday was not convention center day, but I was still in town again. I know flight prices. Let me wait a little few days after the week, and then the flight prices are not high. I got to explore Black New Orleans, the Black side of New Orleans, the Ninth Ward, and with the original places of segregation and street art. I love street art. I got to be toured around by another connection that I got to meet in person from a different conference that I spoke at called Women in Travel Summit. And she had been living in New Orleans for 10 years. She was able to drive me around to all of the places. We did a little driving tour, so that was a wonderful experience as well. In summary, I had a great time at Essence Fest. A huge thank you to New Voices family for giving me not one, not two, but 3 opportunities to showcase my expertise and be in the presence of people and see where my gaps are, where I can continue to build my media company. And I'm manifesting it now that the next time I will be at Essence Fest will be for the film festival portion, even the podcast creator section. That is my goal for the next Essence Fest. If you want to continue to learn more about me or to work with me, make sure to go to my website, zaakirah.com. Thank you for listening.